So, thank you for joining this afternoon's webinar. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicola Mann. I'm one of the Vice Presidents for PPMA. So I'm on to welcome both Alex and Paul from Cornerstone to present their webinar today, which is on a very exciting topic: unleashing potential, elevate performance and ignite public sector careers with strategic skills development. So I'm not going to kind of take up too much of their time, but just a few housekeeping rules. Obviously, if you can keep on mute for the session, that would be really helpful. Up to you if you have cameras on or not. The session is recorded, but only the speakers will be seen, and it will be available via email and on the website. Any questions during this session, as you will have already seen, Paul and obviously PPMA have already put your questions in the chat, and then we'll try and get to them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Alex, and he's going to do all the intros and tell you all about Cornerstone, and hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Nicola. I was trying to be really smooth with my slides there to just do it right at the right time, but I failed. So just a thumbs up that you can actually see them will be good. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining this PPMA webinar, which is a bit of a follow-up to our last one. So if you haven't seen that YouTube channel, the PPMA YouTube channel, all of our previous webinars and that of the other PPMA sponsors are all on there. So today I'm going to try and live up to the title of this webinar, and what we've got for you is a little bit of theory, a little bit of Cornerstone research in terms of what we see industry-wide and globally, in fact, and provide some context around the skills piece, but also some of the gaps that we're seeing and how to respond to some of those gaps. And what we've done today is kind of split the session in two. So I've got a bit of the theory and slides for you, and then you're going to be able to see from my colleague Paul around a real life practical example of how technology can help solve some of these issues. So please don't think of this as a Cornerstone demo, but think of it as the art of the possible using Cornerstone technology. So it's very much, look, what can we do from a careers skills perspective, and hopefully you'll get something out of that demo, and hopefully that will set a baseline for you and any future technology decisions. Just to introduce ourselves very quickly, I'm Alex Colton. I am the public sector lead for account management here at Cornerstone. So I look after all of our existing accounts, but also I work with Yvonne in marketing, who's on the call with me, to do that collaboration piece with the PPMA and our sponsorship of the PPMA and other local government networks. Paul, I'll let you come in and just introduce yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah, by all means, Alex. I'm fascinated to know where you got that photograph of me, because that's me in the lost city of Petra in 2008, which only comes to mind because I was there again 5 weeks ago.
I don't believe that, Paul. I don't believe that.
I'll send you the holiday photos. Paul Janker, Principal Solution Consultant with Cornerstone. It'd be my privilege today to take you on a little bit of a tour and demonstration of our talent platform. And I'm something of a specialist within Cornerstone on all things related to skills. So feel free to ask any questions that you might have around skills and skills related topics. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Paul. So let's get into it. So I'll just set some context. Some of these slides are a little bit of a repeat of our last webinar, and that's because what we want you to do is bring the theory and then apply the practical to it in this session. So if you have seen these before and seen me talk through it, feel free to get a quick cup of tea and make sure you're back for Paul's piece, which is the real interesting bit. This is really, look, this is Cornerstone's mantra. When people are at their best, organizations are at their best. It's something that we absolutely believe and we put everything into. And I've worked in public sector before. I've done 7 years in local authorities. If there's anyone from Essex on the call, please do not heckle me. But what I've seen is sometimes that's not always the case, and sometimes we have to fight for this in local government and wider public sector. And it's something that we hold dear. So anytime you are kind of fighting for that position, we're always happy to take a call on this and kind of help you through that journey. And that's a non-committal type conversation. We have the experience in, look, let's lead with our people first and the organization results will come. I just want to share a bit of research for you. Now, we've got several research papers available on this, but we've just picked out 3 key themes. First one is around changes to the way we work, which isn't going to be new to anyone on this call, but this is backed up by McKinsey research. So what that research says is automation, AI, robotics, and machine learning could replace up to 800 million jobs by 2030. Now, put that into context, we're already nearly halfway through 2025, so that's really only 4 years away. So that is a really scary statistic in terms of the level of change certain jobs are going to go through, and that might be whole jobs being deleted, brand new jobs being created, jobs changing, the required skill shifting. The second one on there is around demographic shifts, and again, nothing new, but these kind of 3 come together. So there's 5 generations in the workforce for the first time ever. How you manage that and how you manage people's expectations, process, conversations is very different between generational gaps. So that is a really important feature that came out of this, which is impacting the world of work today. And the third one, which is admittedly a little bit odd for a HR tech company to promote, but we say, well, the Sapient Insights say that every company, and on average, has 16 HR tools. Now imagine that 16 different data sets. How are you supposed to see the visibility of your data and then respond to that data in real time is becoming even harder because of that different landscape. So those 3 things really equate to 3 problems. So skills. So skills are changing faster than you can upskill or hire. So that 800 million is the end point of 2030, but actually a lot of that change has already happened or happening now. So those required skills are changing faster than you can actually upskill or hire new skills in. Those expectation things around that generational gap we talked about, that means people's development is being impeded because organizations don't know how to respond to that 5 generational workforce thing. And finally, we talked about that visibility of workforce data. And that will lead to something that Cornerstone have coined as the workforce readiness gap. And that means that in a week's time, in a month's time, in a year's time, in 2 years' time, you're not going to be ready as an organization to deal with the changes that's coming at you from external factors. And this is the real headline, right? And I'll read out from the slide, is the ability to adapt to that change is out of sync with the pace of that change. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know about all this stuff that's coming at you from external environmental sources, and how you respond to that is slower than what you can actually achieve. And Cornerstone have a way of dealing with this. It's a bit of a formula, and it's pretty obvious, but it brings things together. And we're going to deep dive into this for a couple of minutes before I hand over to Paul. And that is people-centric development must meet the organizational goals and vision. And so in the past, if you think about this as L&D, for example, 20 years ago, it was a very top-down approach. It was compliance. It was around the things that the organization was saying, you must learn this, employee. Nowadays, you still need an element of that. We're not completely dismissing that, but actually there is an element of bottom up. So what are the expectations around your staff, and how do you meet those in the middle so you're getting the best of both worlds? So that people-centric plus organization goals thing is really important to create something called workforce agility. And workforce agility is about how fast you can change to keep up with those environmental demands. This is a new slide, actually. So if you haven't seen my slides before, they're all new, but this is a new slide to me. So forgive me as I walk through it quite quickly. Just turning those 3 gaps, skills gap, expectation gap, visibility gap, on their head and inverting them a little bit and talking about, actually, if you had skills intelligence, if you could meet all those expectations, if you had that visibility into the future, what would that look like? And from an organization perspective, from skills perspective, that means you're not talking really about roles and jobs anymore. You're talking about skills. Every single conversation is about skills. And the way you get there is looking at your jobs because they're still important, but actually using things like AI to map across and using clever tools like Skyhive and tools like that to look at your job architecture right at the beginning. So to give you a quick example of that, if you were designing a new organization from the very, very beginning, you would want consistent job titles. You'd want probably rationalized job titles. How many of you have issues within your organization when you have 5, 6, 7,000 staff, but 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 job titles, and actually understanding the skills against those job titles then becomes an impossible job. So there are tools out there now, and Cornerstone have some of these as well, that looks at job architecture from an AI-powered perspective and rationalizes that for you. But then you get this clear view of demand and supply, right? You can then say, right, what are the skills that we have by role or by individual? And actually, how does that apply for tomorrow? So that foresighting in skills. And then you can kind of start to see your gap. That's what we talk about, skills intelligence. And then from a people perspective, employees are then in control of their L&D needs. They understand their skills, they understand their skill spec gaps, they understand not just the skill itself, but their capability within that skill and how that's aligned to their current job or how their job's going to change or shift in the future. They also can then democratize learning. So we're talking about actually how can we use the knowledge that's already in this organization and get that into the brains of the people that need it. So that's starting to break down those organizational silos. So if you've got a project management function, for example, and you've got project managing social care, that's a way of getting that cross-fertilization of learning in place. Expectations. So this is the big one for me, and we're going to focus on this a little bit today. But that is around, you know, if you meet expectations of an individual, suddenly you've got performance and productivity, and the ROI on that in local gov and public sector wider is that ROI on productivity. So more organizations starting to talk about this productivity issue, but also performance, right? And these two things impact not just HR, not just learning, it impacts on total service delivery at the end. And then that diversity in thought for the organization is really important because you're getting better outcomes, you're getting better service delivery. From the people side, from the employee side, they're getting that tailored on-demand learning. So depending on your age or your preference or your generation or how you're used to learning, you could want to learn through reading a book. You could, like I do. So I'm completely out of my generational gap. I do like a book and I like to read. But someone else might like a podcast. They might want to learn virtually, where they're kind of testing themselves out in a virtual environment and a very safe, psychologically safe environment. And those stronger one-to-one conversations around individual manager, around actually, can we get managers to understand the differences between their generations and what people need? And then thirdly, that visibility into the future. So suddenly workforce planning, and you've all talked about workforce planning before, doesn't become a data exercise, it becomes an insights exercise, which means you're quicker to delivery, quicker to tweak your operating model, quicker to tweak your structures because the data is already done for you. You can match open roles with projects and gigs and skilled candidates, whether that's internally and externally. And actually, a lot of companies that work with us have started to move the dial between a lot of external recruitment towards actual real internal mobility with career pathways. And Paul's going to show you a bit of that in a minute. And for the individual, right, if I can see my career pathway, I feel in control. I can see what learning I have to do. I can see what opportunities that are open to me to build my experience and my skills up. But also that clear view of, look, where have I been? What jobs have I done? What skills, what experience, what gigs, what learning have I done? And build that up, and they can see where they're going to get to, and suddenly they're much more in control of their future. I'm just going to deep dive on that middle one. I'm not going to do this on all of them, just that middle one, because that's kind of where we're at today and the bits that we want to show you. So this expectations gap thing. And this is about, look, if I'm an individual, right, I want to be ready for today, and the business wants me ready for today. I need to do my day job. But that means I need to probably upskill. That means I need some form of career development because I need to see where I'm going to be productive and perform well today. I'm more engaged. But also that preparing for tomorrow. So we have to be thinking about that research and that level of change. We need individuals to be thinking about tomorrow, whether that's lateral moves, whether that's reskilling, whether that is promotion and going up the hierarchy, whatever way that career looks like, we need to get people thinking about where are you going, how are you shifting your skills, and how are you reacting to this business change so that we can stay agile. And then these are just three quick tips around how to solve the expectations gap. So that first one is around finding the right talent with the right capabilities. But sometimes that's hard if you don't have the right data at your fingertips. So some of these, if I just go back a little bit, these ones, the three gaps are intrinsically linked. So if you start thinking about actually how you get that visibility into your organization's data, you have to do the skills bit first. The second one is lack of development and career opportunities, and that's why people leave. That's why we have high attrition rates, but also that's why we spend a lot of money on recruitment, because we're not doing enough day-to-day internal growth of our employees. So giving them the right opportunity, the right data, the right foresight to be able to make those decisions is absolutely critical. And finally, that just to start talking about how we get connected technology and experience. So that creates that experience so that we've got those diverse expectations. We don't have siloed insights all over the place, and we can prove proper ROI because everyone's having a similar experience but personalized and tailored to them. That is a whistle-stop tour of my slides, and I am going to shut up talking now and hand over to Paul so you can see what kind of a real application of what this looks like.
Thank you, Alex. Much appreciated. Just before I take over screen sharing, a couple of things to be aware of. Firstly, I can't see the chat when I'm screen sharing, so Alex will keep me honest on any questions that arise. But before we go into just a little anecdotal real story of skills transformation. Prior to joining Cornerstone, I was with IBM for 26 years, and IBM embarked on this journey towards skills transformation in 2015, led by the then CEO. The skills transformation journey meant that 5 years later, half the revenues of the business came from skills the business did not have 5 years previously. Now, they didn't make that transformation by making 100,000 people redundant and then going out and hiring 100,000 people with the skills that they needed for the future, which was everything around cloud, blockchain, AI, Gen AI, robotics, automation, so on and so forth. They did it by upskilling and reskilling, not by changing job titles, not by moving people around in the organisation, but by upskilling and reskilling. That then enabled talent mobility within the business. Right, okay, so I'm going to just turn my camera off so I don't become a distraction. Alex, can you just give me a shout when you can see the screen nice and clear? Oh, hang on, somebody else is sharing.
No, that's me. Let me just...
The host isn't allowing multiple presenters sharing for this meeting. Let me take over. Right, hopefully you should see my browser window.
We've got that, thank
you. Good. Right, so I'm in the Cornerstone Galaxy environment. Galaxy is our architecture term for the entire solution suite. It's a visually sumptuous environment. It's designed to be a consumer grade and intuitive solution. What does that mean in practical terms? The effort necessary to learn to use it is pretty much the same as the effort that you and I put in to learn Amazon Prime and Netflix. You don't need to go on a course, you don't need to read a manual, you don't need to take any online learning, just roll your sleeves up and dive in. Where we're going to explore today is particularly here in the career capabilities within the platform. And I'm going to start with career exploration. I'm currently logged in as this user here, Andrew Kelly, who is a customer services manager. Andrew might be interested in career mobility, where he can take his career. And what Andrew can see here in the career exploration is the spectrum of roles that are in orbit of his current role, adjacent, really driven by proximity of skills, not job title, not linear career path, not organizational structure, but skills. Because in this case, the employee might have skills that enable them to move outside of a linear career path. And those skills could come from current job role, previous job roles in current employment, previous job roles in previous employment, from higher education, further education, from volunteering, from membership of professional body, anything. Any skills that can be declared, that employee can then accrue to their skills profile. What they then presented is a range of different roles that they might want to consider. I emphasize roles here, not hiring vacancies. There may be vacancies for these roles, but this is showing the potential for mobility within the business. Let's have a look at one of these. I'm going to look at Administrative Services Manager, for example. So this other role within the organisation's job architecture, it says it's a good match to where the individual is now in their career. That good match is determined by a number of factors, including the experience they bring, the career path they have, and also their the proximate relationship of their current role to that next role. So within this environment, you can get a view of all of the roles that could be relevant to the learner. Moving beyond that, let's go back to the welcome page. We'll see that Andrew has a profile here, and that profile records the description of the role that he's currently in and the skills that are particularly relevant for that current role. And it's the skills that unlock the mobility, not the job title. It's the skills that the individual holds and also the proficiency level to which they hold them. The employee can also specify certain career preferences, that these can also influence the recommendations they receive. For example, Andrew might want to say, well, actually, I want to progress my career to take on more responsibility. So in essence, I'm looking for a promotion, but it might also be open to horizontal career moves. Might want to be home-based rather than office-based, and open to either full-time or part-time roles, and in either managerial or individual contributor roles. These preferences also influence the recommendations that are presented to Andrew. Skills first, then career proximity of the next logical roles, and then also preferences. So those three factors are used by the AI to determine what is presented here. And I emphasize these are roles, not vacancies. However, there also may be open hiring seats for one or more of these roles. That's where there is an internal vacancy, or at least a vacancy that is made visible to internals, to which Andrew could apply. So there's one here for a customer services specialist. If I look at that, I see, okay, title, description, there could be more information here. There could even be a little video, for example, introducing the role. And you'll also see information coming in from, in this case, integration with an applicant tracking system. So it's giving me metadata about the role, for example, the salary range and the career grade. Any other metadata that might be relevant, such as working location or the nature of the contract, whether it's full-time employee, whether it's freelance, whether it's part-time, all of that could be fed in. But the key thing here is this is actually a vacancy rather than just a role. So Andrew could just click on this and apply to it. If they did so, it would take them to the applicant tracking system, and they would go through the normal application process that anyone else would do for a vacancy. Beyond that though, we can also get recommendations for projects. Now we take a very liberal view of what a project is. Some people call them gigs. It might be one person for 2 hours working remotely. It might be a group of people working on site for 3 months. There's complete freedom to define projects as might be required. The projects that are being recommended here to the employee are those which are related to skills that they might need to develop in order to apply for example, a role that they've marked as aspirational. So if I go back to the welcome page, Andrew had already marked a potential future role of customer services director as being aspirational, something that he might want to apply to in future should a vacancy come up. That particular role identifies career paths. In this case, it's just a direct linear career path, but it could be multiple branches to reach there, and skills related to that role, some of which he may need to develop. Either skills he doesn't have or skills he doesn't have at the required level of proficiency. So the projects that are presented here are those which are recommended to Andrew, intended to close skills gaps so that he can gain experience and exposure to developing those skills in projects of all different shapes and sizes, and then evidence the acquisition of skills that would increase, for example, his proficiency level or the attainment of skills that he doesn't already have. Likewise, we also recommend mentorships. Mentorships are relationships that, again, you can shape as you wish. It could be a one-time virtual meeting, or it could be an ongoing professional relationship where someone is acting as a mentor to, for example, an apprentice. The other people here are employees within the organisation who, firstly, have skills that they've attained to a certain level of proficiency that's been verified. Secondly, have been granted permission to act as mentors. They can then choose to make some of their skills, if they wish, visible to others and offer themselves for a mentoring relationship. The shape and form that mentoring relationship takes, what modality it's delivered through, virtually or in person, how long it lasts, what the objectives are, we leave that for each relationship to define. So it's a very open-ended definition of mentorships, just in the same way as projects are very liberally defined. But again, the recommendations here are mentors for Andrew that are bringing skills mentorship for skills that Andrew might need to develop in order to consider a future move into that aspirational role. So there we go. That just gives you a very, very quick whistle-stop tour of some of the capabilities of the Talent Marketplace platform, which unlocks career mobility within an organisation based principally upon skills. Okay, Alex, back to you.
Thank you, Paul. While you're sharing your screen, is there a job on your demo platform, don't worry if not, that shows a more complicated career pathway?
Oh,
Just
there will be many. It just depends
Yeah.
on which one I click on. Let's go and find another one.
Because one of the things that I'm really interested in, and one of the conversations that I always had in my previous role, was about how careers don't necessarily have to be linear, and that you can use transformational transferable skills to go across jobs and horizontal or vertical, whatever that looks like. And for an employee, that's really important, right? To have that kind of visibility of not just upwards, but sidewards as well. And a career pathway sometimes is non-linear, and so this really kind of helped me understand that issue where you might have pathway A, B, and C, and actually pathway B is more relevant to me to pathway A. So that really, when we talk about expectation gap, that starts to bring that to life a little bit.
So there are lots and lots of examples here. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just browsing around. I haven't tested out every single one of these.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can get a sense of the capabilities of the platform to paint multiple pathways to other roles. And then also it brings up learning and mentorship and project recommendations for every single potential aspirational role that you might want to identify. If you mark a role as aspirational, then that's what starts driving the AI-powered recommendations of projects and mentors, in addition to learning content recommendations to close skills gaps.
Thanks, Paul. It's really helpful. And that employee choosing A or B and then getting the relevant learning for that A or B pathway, for me is really quite powerful in terms of that experience piece. Brill, thank you. Let me just see if I can share my screen again. Just go back to a couple of slides while we just wrap up. So just wanted to advertise a session that we have coming up on the 3rd of June in partnership with Meta. So the holding company for Facebook. We have a partnership, a long-standing partnership with Meta. And this is about immersive learning. So how do we get into a space of employees learning situational things, but in a very non-judgmental environment? So this isn't just about the VR headsets that you see advertised everywhere and learning through that approach. You can do it by the desktop as well, which is a lot of my customers choose to absolutely do that. But that session is with our content consultants and Meta as well. So that's a webinar of the power of immersive learning. One of the really nice things about that is they will showcase Cornerstone Companion, which is an AI generated tool for you to create your own environments. And I'm just having a conversation internally about how we can develop something specifically for social care and the difficult conversations that they have to use. So while that's not a public sector event, it is going to be really relevant and super relevant for the job that your L&D teams do. And we've got an in-person event, which is really nice. So we actually get to see people. Unfortunately, it's fully booked, but there is a waiting list. So it's kind of aimed at exec level, HRD level. But if you do want to go on that waiting list, please feel free to contact me and I'll do what I can to get you a space there. It is in London on Mayfair on the 24th of June, and it's co-hosted by our partners, Zealous. So just wanted to, although it's fully booked, just wanted to let you know if you did have a major interest in being there, then I will hopefully try and get you a space. And finally, my details are there if you did want to follow up on anything. Cornerstone typically answer any HR pain points, and whether that's us directly or we use partner or we connect customers in with each other, where we see it being done really well. So if you ever want to reach out on any topic whatsoever, my LinkedIn, my email address is absolutely right there. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand back to Nicola to host any Q&As you might have.
Thanks, Alex and Paul. Very insightful and whistle-stop tour. I can't speak. I told you it's Friday. Whistle-stop tour of a great package. So I wish I had loads of money, but I work in districts. But yeah, I don't know if anyone does have any questions that they want to ask Paul and Alex, but feel free to either unmute and ask or put in the chat. There's nothing in the chat, so but obviously we're all stunned into silence.
I was just wondering a little bit what's in the project. What sort of projects, from a kind of meet now you've discovered all these skills that people need and want to grow, how the projects help.
You can shape them as you wish. So a project could be just a one-time thing. For example, I recently read an internal project for technical peer review.
Excuse me, Pages needs your attention.
Excuse me, I don't know why we need to be interrupted by that.
Do you want to keep this new document untyped?
Yes, please.
Doing it for you.
The power of AI in demo form, right there.
Whatever that is. Anyway, so I strangely enough, I recently asked for a review of a white paper that's being published through the Chartered Institute for IT, and I wanted peer review internally. So my project was just like one person as an SME peer reviewer for a couple of hours to review a 3,000 word article. However, you could also define a project to be 3 months working on location as part of a team, and the key thing about projects is there are always skills associated with them.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just interested in it's the reverse of that mindset, isn't it? About advertising, thinking about whatever you're doing or whatever the help you need as a project for somebody else to learn something.
Yes,
The other side of the equation.
Indeed, in this case, the projects are very much about professional development. So you could create projects which are purely for the purposes of professional development. For example, I recently saw a young tree surgeon learning all the safety procedures, and he was being recorded on a phone. And I thought, I can think of the exact use case for that. If you wanted to submit that to an HSE assessor, that would be it's a project made for the purpose of assessing their ability to go through all the safety procedures. But it could equally as well be, we actually need someone on this this project at present who's got this set of skills, and as part of it you will also develop these additional skills that you can then add to your skills profile. So you define it as you wish. It's very open-ended.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So unless anyone else has got any questions, there's nothing in the chat, so we can wrap up if that's okay with you, Alex, and
yeah, perfectly.
Paul. Perfect.
Thank you, Nicola. And just to say,
you.
happy to have a call with a one-to-one basis. That was a whistle-stop tour, so we can spend more time on this on an individual basis if you want to. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye.